And welcome back. The countdown has started and the game is underway. A couple of days ago I had a game between between someone else and Misophobia, aka DoE July, the streamer. One of the bigger Starcraft fastest map streamers from Korea and one of the bigger fastest map streamers in the world. And he played against... I forgot the name of the player already. It was a couple of days ago I casted a game where Misophobia was playing the Terran. This time he's playing the Protoss. And I felt I should give the guy a chance to redeem himself. He's playing the yellow Protoss on the top left of the map. And he is up against none other than Leebokgu, aka Gold SCV, who's playing the white Terran right beneath where DoE is located on the map. DoE starts up with a pylon. Leebokgu starts up with a barracks before he starts a depot. The depot is going to come out right about now, right next to it. Yeah, it should be interesting to see how this game plays out. I honestly think that Leebokgu is a little bit of a better player than the player DoE was previously against. I think I just remember it was SH. And Leebokgu is a little bit of a higher level than SH, but this time DoE is on a stronger race. And perhaps even his main race, so the game might play out completely different from the last one. But this is his series. I grabbed what should be a best of 3, perhaps even a best of 5. It should be a best of 3, so it should be interesting to see how I checked the replays, like the races which they play, and DoE plays Protoss, Terran, and the last game, or the third game, is a PvP, and game number 4 and 5, I don't remember. But anyway, this should be an interesting series, because we get to see DoE play on both Protoss and Terran, so we can really get a grasp of whether he can redeem himself from that game he played a couple of days ago, where he more or less made every single wrong choice that you could probably make. Mechanically he was playing very well, but the choices were just really, really bad. Even from my point of view, they were just really, really subpar. But this time around, starts off with 2 gateways. No pylon is choke though, that is a little bit risky, which could wind up against them and in favor of Leebokgu, because once Leebokgu fights off this frontal harass from DoE, he can go for a counterattack. So DoE is adding 2 more gateways. So next 2 gates, and next is 2 more gateways. That's a very unconventional build for Protoss on fastest map. Because I don't really ever see 4 gateways doing all that much, because now you can already see that the 2 gateway zealot pump hasn't really worked out for him just yet. Leebokgu has already won the first exchange. The second exchange might go in favor of DoE, but DoE got a pretty good catch on that single marine there. More zealots just spawning in his base. They're going to come out and try to fight here. But considering these 2 zealots are low HP, DoE is in no position to fight against these marines here. Let's see if he gets pulled back to the base. Zealots retreating. All zealots are still alive, but most of them have been chucked down. 2 of them are just shots away from dying. He's adding on a 5th gateway, as added 2 gas. There's a cybernetics core, it's just finished up. He's now adding on even 2 more gateways. So he does have the means of production of spamming out a lot of zealots very, very quickly, very early. Bunkers being constructed inside, just outside of the corridor that leads into DoE's base. DoE is trying to get a little bit of finding an opening, but he finds no opening. Bunker there is not being cancelled. The bunker is remaining there. He just pulled off the SCV. He cancels the bunker eventually. Both players are just trying to touch ground, see whether they can go aggressive or not. DoE decides to go aggressive, decides to pull back immediately once he sees the huge ball of marines. It's at least 24 marines in there. Now medics are coming in. The damaged marines will be restored back to full health. Second command center comes down for Leebokgu. He's got a stim. Right, the zealots are now attacking. They get a pretty good surround off on those marines. Most of the marines go down once they get pulled back a little bit too late, but firebats have joined the fray. Firebats do amazing against zealots. DoE tries to avoid the fire bats, but Leebokgu micros his marines around the fire bats. Fire bats getting ignored by DoE. DoE takes a lot of damage on his zealots by those fire bats. Now the fire bats will be able to clean up these zealots, but most of the marines have gone down to the zealots. There's a really good chase from DoE, chasing those marines all the way around, chunking Leebokgu's army size down to just a fraction of what it used to be. And he is now tech switching up to dragoons. There is a factory on the way for Leebokgu. Leebokgu is now also recharging marine range. And singularity charge is about 5 seconds away from finishing, so DoE has the ability here to go very aggressive because he can outrange those marines, outrange the bunker, and push in. But he's waiting for the singularity charge. Marines now moving out. Marines find the dragoons. Marines get a pretty good spread on those dragoons, but the dragoons now microing backwards. But the dragoons are taking more damage than I would like to see them taking here. Single dragoon is on low HP. 6 more dragoons have finished up. Marine range is very close to finishing. Machine shop has been added onto the factory. He's now researching a tank and siege mode. So DoE will have to be very aggressive here right now if he wants to get an advantage before the siege tank finishes up. He's microing backwards every time the marines are going in, trying to take as little damage as he possibly can. A single dragoon has gone down already. A second dragoon goes down. Most of the marines have gone down as well. Marines in the bunker. He doesn't take in the bunker. The bunker is being taken down. The bunker is about to get repaired. The bunker doesn't get repaired in time. Marines switch over to another bunker. Siege mode is still about 15 seconds away from finishing, with most of the dragoons have gone down. Leebokgu is holding this pretty damn well. Because the marine range has finished, now he's microing in. Tank gets pulled back. Dragoons going in. They're just ignoring the front now, trying to deal as much damage as they can by microing forward, stutter stepping every single little step. A lot of marines here going down. SCVs get pulled off the minerals, ready to assist in taking down those dragoons. Dragoons now being stationary, now being moved further and further, just kiting whatever units Leebokgu sends at them. In the process, the tank goes down. Another tank finishes. Siege mode has been finished. The tank gets blocked out by his own marines. More dragoons coming in from the flank, take down the tank. The dragoons are pretty much ignoring the choke here. And more damage is being dealt by those dragoons. Leebokgu is really hurting here, losing most of his mass. Not really losing any buildings, not losing any workers, but he's losing a lot of marines. But on the other side, Misophobia is also losing a lot of his marines and his investments. His dragoons, not his marines. Protoss doesn't have dragoons, doesn't have marines. Oh, I'm messing up my speech pattern. Right, so the front has been walled off by depots, but those dragoons can take down those depots from outside of the range of these marines. Dragoons here in the bottom still dealing damage to units and the depots, so that's gonna hurt Leebokgu in the long run because he will get supply stuck once one of those depots there goes down. He's got a siege tank up there, but he's trying to focus on 2 fronts at the same time. Siege tank sieges up. Dragoons are just within range. Dragoons now forced to pull back. DoE is switching to zealots now. He's got a huge amount of gateways there, so he can smash out a lot of zealots very, very quickly. Now he's getting supply stick, so he has to add more pylons, which are on the way, being warped in. Zealot lags has finished, and he's gonna ball up his units here in the front, but the wall has been constructed, so it will be very hard for DoE to get in there. All these bunkers being loaded up with marines that have range. 2 tanks there. A 3rd tank is on the way. And now he's adding on starports and more factories. Once the storm has settled down and he's finally has some room to breathe and just build up as he intends. DoE is really spamming his APM. Alright, DoE decides to go in. He has to focus down those depots first before he gets access to the units behind the bunkers. A lot of zealots here streaming in, dragoons as well. Zealots making their way into between the bunkers, but the zealots have lost a lot of HP, so they go down pretty quickly to the units in the bunkers. Dragoons also going down to the marines, and the tanks helping out the marines taking down the dragoons. Dragoons are forced to pull back, and it looks like this strategy from DoE almost worked, but Leebokgu held in there really, really tightly and pulls off the survive. He survives streams of attacks from DoE. Now DoE is forced to regroup his units, rebuild, and switch up his strategies. Already got a Stargate out. He's already making shuttles. He's got Storm upgrade on the way. Robotic support bay is being warped in just now finishes, so he will have that shuttle speed up very, very soon. But Leebokgu has already anticipated that he's now going for the tech switch as turrets are all being thrown down on the side here. North side and the south side. More barracks are being added on. Factories have finished. Machine shops have been added on as well. Stargate is finished as well. I assume he will be going for a dropship very soon because that's one of the staple moves of Leebokgu. He goes for a tank drop no matter what. And considering there's very little cannon protection in the base of DoE, it might actually work. But that is given that he actually makes a dropship because he's not making one as of yet. Second CC being thrown down. Mortars being constructed. And another wave of shuttles being made. DoE loads up all of his shuttles really quickly. There's 4 Templars and 8 Zealots in there. He's gonna drop this one in the base, either on the side or close to the minerals, and get a storm off on those SCVs. Alright, the shuttles are grouping up. More shuttles are being loaded up with units. He's gonna load up his entire mass, pretty much. And drop the entire mass that he had inside of his choke, inside the base of Leebokgu. And pretty much hope to deal a significant amount of damage to Leebokgu. Because he hasn't been able to deal a significant amount of damage as of yet. It's mostly being units being exchanged for units. Which pretty much goes into the advantage and the disadvantage of both players. Because both players are losing their investment. And not really gaining much ground. So it's pretty much been a stalemate as of yet. Right, units are being landed on the hill already. So there's a dropship. He's not going for tank drops on the minerals. Although there is a huge wide opening here for him to go for the tank drop. More units being loaded up into the shuttles. DoE has to be very, very quick here because he's going to lose his buildings here on the edge of his base to those tanks up on the hill. Right, the drop comes flying in. Shuttles flying in pretty much all the way, but a lot of these shuttles have gone down. So only about half the units get loaded up, get up there, gets a storm off, but the storm misses the SCVs because the SCVs moved away from the minerals. A lot of units going down on both sides, mostly Zealots and Marines. But DoE ends up not gaining much of an advantage out of that drop. Which is in the advantage of Leebokgu because Leebokgu now can replace those lost Marines with either more Marines, which are pretty cheap, or with tanks, and he can keep loading up tanks on the hill there. Now drop flies in over an opening in the turret line. Leebokgu is not dodging the oh, he took down the shuttle that had Templars in it. So not dodging ends up in his favor because the units don't have to restack on the minerals. He takes down the Zealots, the shuttles with focus Marine fire. A pretty good job from Leebokgu there. Another drop being loaded up really, really quickly. And more shuttles finishing up. He lost the Stargate, so no Corsairs there to assist the drop with flying. And he's already making 2 new Stargates. So the Corsairs will be added into the mix very soon. But he's going to go for this opening, so he doesn't really need a Corsairs. He can just fly in through that opening. He meets Marines. Marines stimming up. Bunkers also assisting. A lot. There is a Templar. That's not a Templar. Templar gets a storm off on the minerals. And the SCVs go down to the storm because Leebokgu decides not to dodge the storm. And now he's on 24 SCVs, pretty much all of them mining. Actually, there's about 8 SCVs here on the top side. So that's roughly 18 SCVs mining minerals now at the moment. He's got 3 command centers, so we can replace those lost SCVs pretty quick. But it does mean that Leebokgu does not have the minerals nor the income to keep advancing this tank drop siege mode push here next to the hill. Neither will be able to produce a lot more units. He's mostly going to be focusing on rebuilding his economy there. So this gives DoE time to probably try and repeat the same process of dropping units inside of the base of Leebokgu and probably gain a small advantage. He flies in over the huge turret line and he's trying to drop units on top of the hill, but the shuttles are not unloading, so he loses 4 completely loaded up shuttles instead of getting the units there up on the hill. That's a bit unfavorable for DoE, but nothing he couldn't afford to lose, although it does buy Leebokgu a little bit more time to keep doing as he intended. Pylon is thrown out here on the side. He's adding gateways as a proxy on the top middle of the map. Dark Templars are aiding in taking down these low ground tanks, but the scan comes out. Dark Templars go down. Tanks as well. But a couple of tanks have now sieged up here on the low ground next to the hill. Leebokgu is very slowly advancing. He's already taken down the Stargate here, a forge here, another forge there. A couple of cannons as well. So the clock is ticking for DoE. DoE has to start dealing real damage really quickly, really soon, if he wants to stop Leebokgu in his tracks. Right, he's flying in over a lot of shuttles there. Marines get stimmed in, but most of the units that he loaded up come out. Templar is dropped on the low ground. It storms and it kills about 8 SCVs. And are there more units in there, or that's all the units on the low ground there? When there's another Templar in there, the Templar storms a bunch of Marines. All the SCVs are safe. And now it's mostly Marines fighting against Zealots there next to the command center of Leebokgu. Leebokgu now setting his SCVs back because he wants to start resuming mining. SCVs do get stuck there though. That's a really stupid interaction. It's gonna take a while before the SCVs come back to the minerals. He's only on 164 minerals now. I really feel he should lift up these 2 barracks and drop them there. Alright, another drop comes flying in. This time there's more Templars there in the mix. He doesn't get a storm off on the SCVs though, but he kills all the Marines right next to it. That's really unfortunate. He barely missed a storm on those SCVs. Leebokgu forced to unload tanks next to his command center to take down those Zealots, because Zealots are doing a lot of damage to his Marines and his SCVs. Another drop is already being loaded up inside of the base of DoE. DoE has been really putting on the pressure here. He's amping up the pressure on Leebokgu quite nicely. Leebokgu is pretty much pushed into a corner. His economy keeps taking hits. The only thing he's got going on his side is the fact that he's already on 50 SCVs. So even though his economy is taking hits, the hits are not fatal hits. And he's not losing all that much units. He's got a lot of tanks now, slowly phasing out that Marine mass into a tank mass, which he can advance on the side here next to the hill. There's a vessel there as well. Now a huge drop is flying in. He's gonna drop that. He's gonna try to drop that next to the main once again, but most of the shuttles go down to focus Marine fire. They got stimmed up. Already gets a great storm off on those SCVs. About 20 SCVs go down to the storm because Leebokgu is a very poor dodger, it seems. Another storm comes down. Another 4 SCVs go down. There's a storm on the tanks as well. But most of the Marines there have stayed alive and are now focusing down the Templars and Zealots there on the low ground. Shuttles now being cleaned up as well. Another drop is already being prepared. Well, it's not yet being prepared. Shuttles are on the way. Courses are on the way. Lockdown is on the way for Leebokgu. And he's got a bunch of ghosts out as well. He's going to plan on locking down all those shuttles individually in order to defend himself against those drops. But now I just feel that DoE is going to switch things up a little bit, because he has opened up a hole there in the front, although the hole has now already been blocked up by 2 more depots, particularly being thrown down by those 2 SCVs. Now tanks here on the low ground next to the hill are being taken down by Zealots. Zealots now have nothing to attack. It will go down to the tanks in... This is a noble sacrifice, taking down a bunch of tanks in exchange for your own life, stopping the advance from Leebokgu. But Leebokgu is being very aggressive here with the low ground push, unloading more tanks there on the low ground. But those tanks going down to the Dark Templars already, so that's thrown away minerals. Right, drop comes flying in. Dark Ghosts respawn with a very slow lockdown, but... Ooh, all the shuttles get locked down before... Oh wait, he can unload his Templars. He's got 4 Templars in the last shuttle. That's really fortunate for DoE. He gets a beautiful storm off on the SCVs, and there's only 10 SCVs left for Leebokgu, while he's also low on minerals. He decided against locking down the very last shuttle. And just that very last shuttle just so happened to have 4 Templars in it. Now the front is getting broken through. And his Zealots are quite well upgraded on 112. Whereas the Marines for Leebokgu are on 1-0. Tanks are on 1-1. The front here, the bunkers are going down very quickly. DoE is breaking through, making his advance into the base of Leebokgu. Leebokgu has pretty much nothing to defend himself with against these droves of Zealots just streaming in very quickly. He's dropping a lot of tanks here on the low ground, but those units would have been better off defending his own base. Now he's going to try to go for the tank drop on those probes, but there's so many cannons here for DoE that he's not going to get a single shot off on those probes there. Would have been better if he went all the way to the back and not gotten a shot off on those probes, but he calls it GG because the game is over. DoE has managed to pull off a pretty convincing win here against Leebokgu. Leebokgu made some small mistakes here and there, but it mostly comes down to DoE pulling off a pretty solid game plan as a Protoss into a Terran, and doesn't give Leebokgu much room to breathe with, or to breathe in, or to play in, or to pull off his plan. All in all, DoE just pulls off a pretty nice Protoss. Pretty much textbook, mass dropping inside of the base of the Terran, keeping the pressure up, and then going in through the front once the Terran is unable to finance a defense or finance rebuilding the front or a mass. So yeah, pretty well played game. I like this one from DoE. Not as pretty as some of the other Protoss games we've seen, but all in all, a pretty game. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that one. Definitely not one of my strongest casts. At least that's what it feels like. Kind of lost for words here and there. Maybe I'm just out of shape today. But I'm going to upload this one anyway, because it was a fun game and it doesn't really matter. Yeah, you gotta accept the bad with the good. Yeah, thanks for watching. Game number 2 will be up probably tomorrow because I'm going to bed now. And I'm curious to see how DoE will be on the Terran against Leebokgu's Protoss, and whether that will result in a win for him or in a loss. See you later.